We turn to the Scriptures now to Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7. Realize that this chapter is an interlude in the revelation of what is going to happen in the new dispensation. Chapter 5 spoke about a book that no one was open until the Lamb was able to take it and open it. That book is the plan of God for the whole of new dispensational history. You are familiar, I believe, that that book is divided into three parts. The first part consists of what's called the normal carrying out of events, and that's the seals. There are 7 seals. The 6 seals are spoken of in chapter 6. The second part of that history is described as the trumpets. There are 7 of them. The 7th seal becomes the 7 trumpets. And that's when all of the activities of what we call normal life are increased and stepped up, so that instead of a fourth being affected, a third is. So the pressure is increased and troubles are greater. The 7th trumpet will become the 7 vials, and the pouring out of those vials marks the end of the history of the world, of the new dispensation as well as of the world. This chapter is an interlude, an interruption, an interim between the seals, when things are normally happening, to the trumpets. The first verse of chapter 8 is the opening of the 7th seal, silence in heaven about the space of a half hour, and then the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And then you have the sounding of those 7. So difficulties, troubles, afflictions are increased. How will the children of God be able to be protected and cared for when there's an increase of travesty and trouble? That's what chapter 7 tells us. So we read chapter 7. Our text is the last verse. After these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Nephthalim were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000. That's the first vision. Here's the second. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our God, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne, and about the elders, and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worshipped God, saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our God forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes? And whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve him day and night in his temple. And he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. May God bless our reading of his word. That last verse we take as our text. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. We sort of announced this morning that our text was going to be here. We want this and the couple of sermons that follow to be a continuation of that series that we began when we were anticipating the suffering and death of Jesus. So as a continuation of Lent, we looked at the firstlings of the flock as the first reference to a lamb that Abel took, and therefore God had to have taken and with the skins of that lamb covered Adam and Eve, picturing that there would be a lamb that would cover all their sins. We considered also that that lamb had to be without blemish and spot. Then we considered that for that lamb to be able to make that kind of covering, earning forgiveness and righteousness, that lamb had to perform his task willingly. Before, as a lamb before his shearers is dumb and opening not its mouth, so Jesus had to be willing to do that. Then we considered John the Baptist identifying Jesus as that lamb that would take away the sins of the world. Finally, on Good Friday, we saw that Jesus as the lamb did what he said he would do in John 10, I will lay down my life. I willingly lay down my life for my sheep. The book of Revelation, surprisingly, has 26 references to Jesus as the Lamb. Now that's Interesting, because you would have normally thought the book of Revelation is a description of victory. And you would think that Jesus would be described as a conquering king, the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings. That he is. But he is that as the one, and that's what we read when we looked at Revelation 5 this morning, as the Lamb who stands as it were slain, bearing the marks of having been crucified. He stands, he still lives. And he has the right, because of what he did, to take the book and to open it. And so, as those of you who looked at discussion groups last week and some yet tonight, there's a verse in the end of Revelation, just as Jesus ascended and he sent out the apostles, the disciples, with the Great Commission, but he sent them out with this assurance: all power, all authority in heaven and on earth is given to me. All authority in heaven and on earth is mine. Go ye. And then he ends, lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of this age. The Great Commission is bracketed with these two beautiful promises. All authority in heaven and earth is given to me. I am with you always. We're going to see that fulfilled in our consideration of the words of our text. But again, as the Lamb, the servant of Jehovah, seeking only to do the will of his God, Jesus realizes all of history. He opens, he reads the plan of God. But he does that as the one who died. Now, the second big reference to Jesus as the Lamb in the book of Revelation is that which we find here in our text. And here, the Lamb is seen to be the shepherd. Now, we saw that the Lamb had to be the priest. He had to be the sacrificer. The Lamb who was the sacrifice also had to be the sacrificer. Now we see that it's in that capacity as the Lamb who willingly laid down himself and his life for his sheep that equips him to be the shepherd. And as you look at the thoughts that are incorporated in this second vision here in Revelation 7, and particularly the words of our text, then it's going to be very easy for all of you who are so familiar with Psalm 23 to hear that language, especially in the first part of that psalm, repeated in the words of our text. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. He feeds and he leads. When does he do that? John writes this to the church that's facing increased troubles and afflictions and difficulties in the world. As the new dispensational history is being carried out, and according to Galatians 1, we find this present evil world, that's the language in the King James, but its description is this: it's increasingly becoming evil world. It's not getting less evil, as some postmillennialists would have us think. It's becoming increasingly evil. And as it's becoming increasingly evil, the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, because the evils are committed against Him and His holiness and violations of His commandments, He judges all precursors of the judgments. But He sends precursory judgments. Those are the trumpets. And when sin increases, the Lord, who keeps perfect track of everything, may reserve some judgments for the end, but executes judgments already in time, and some of those befall God's people. Now, in addition, there's going to be increased persecution until we get to the very end. But now, John has this vision at the very beginning of new dispensational history. And he comes with this assurance to the sheep. Pretty weak sheep. Sheep, well, why does he want us to say, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want? It's because it is the very nature of sheep to have wants. In other words, not desires as much as that they have lacks. They have things they cannot provide for themselves. They would just follow their nose and they wander. They can't find enough grass for themselves. The shepherd has to do that. They're unhappy with rapid running water. They need still waters. The shepherd has to find that. They can't take care of themselves over against the severest predators. Bears, lions, whatever. They can't take care of the little mites and bugs that get into their wool. They don't have anything to scratch with. They don't even turn their heads and bite. They don't have a tail to wag to get rid of those irritations. A sheep is completely dependent. It can't take care of itself. Cannot. And then it faces all of these judgments and the great tribulation. How can we do it? How will we last? Well, that's the scary setting. But before we get to that description of how things are going to get worse, God gives this vision to John and has John relate it to the churches, to the 7 churches in Asia Minor, representative of the church as it's going to be throughout the whole of new dispensational history. And God comes to that church and he says, 1, there is a seal. Before I will let the trumpet sound, before I let things get worse, first, I want to assure you, your salvation is sealed. I will put a seal on your foreheads. I know the number. I know every one of you. 12,000 from the 12 tribes of Israel, representing the people of God of every dispensation, of both dispensations. I know you, and I have a seal, as it were, imprinted upon your foreheads. You are mine. No one can, no one may break that seal. Second, this description, this vision, and it's all a part of the Lamb being the shepherd. First, this flock that needs protection may have a number according to the first part of the chapter, but now in this second vision, the number of them is so great that no man can number them. It's a multitude that sometimes in history it looks like it's very few. Elijah said, I and only I. God says there's 7,000 that haven't bowed the knee, even in Israel, let alone in Judah and Benjamin. There's a number that cannot be counted. That was God's promise to Abraham. As the sand on the seashore, as the stars in the heaven for multitude. But just because no man can number them, doesn't mean God has not numbered them. There's a verse in 2 Timothy chapter 2 where God says and gives this assuring word, I know them that are mine. I know them. He knows each and every one, from those that we would say are the most important to those that we would say are the least important. They're all equally important to him. They are his sheep. They are his children. They are out of, verse 9 says, all nations, kindreds, peoples, and tongues. The redeemed are out of every race and language, but they're seen as a flock. Only the shepherd, that shepherd, is capable of taking out of every age and out of every nation and keep them together. Now that's no little thing all by itself. To take out of every age and to take out of every nation and bring them together and keep them as an organic whole. Now notice as in this second vision of Revelation 7, how God wants John to communicate to these people living like us on the earth, facing who knows what kind of troubles in the week and in the years ahead of our earthly life. How does he want them to know how he sees them? And let's just say that first. Here we are, little peons on the earth, and we're looking ahead, and we don't know the future. We don't know what's going to come. Sometimes we've got rather bright futures, and sometimes we got rather bleak futures. But we look ahead and we recognize we don't know. We're often wanting to be governed by that perspective. This vision says, wait a minute. You may have your judgments, but take those judgments and subsume them, put them under God's perspective, the shepherd's perspective. How does God look at his people, his sheep in the midst of the world? Look. First, in verse 9, where are they? I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man can number. Where are they? Verse 9 says, they are before the throne and before the Lamb. Where's the Lamb? He's right at the throne of God. He's in the majesty of heaven. God sees his people as if they're already in glory. So certain, so secured are they in their salvation. Now you got to remember this sometimes when you're scared to death, when you don't want to get a doctor's call, when you're standing in a funeral home or in a gravesite, when you are hurting like all get out because somebody just hurt you with words or with a deed that kills, closest to you said or did something, and you're devastated. Beloved, God's perspective is that He sees you already there, already before the Lamb. The Lamb is not standing around the throne. The Lamb is at the right hand of the throne. The beasts and the elders are around the throne. He is God's right hand. He's not only at God's right hand, the Lamb is the right hand of God, executing all of the plan of God in every part of history. 2, the last part of 9. How does God see us? Not only where are we, but how does He see us? Last part of 9. Clothed with white robes. We're washed. Look at verse 14 now. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Here's Lord's Day 23 all over again. Though my conscience accuse me, though others accuse me and find fault with me, God, merely of grace, for the sake of Christ alone, grants and imputes to me the perfect satisfaction, righteousness, and holiness of Jesus Christ. He grants it and imputes it to each and every one of His children, so that His perspective of us is, you didn't sin. Better yet, you did everything right. That's what it is to be washed in the blood of the Lamb. When we understand that correctly, then we know how to love ourselves correctly. And when we know how to love ourselves correctly, then we will learn how to love our neighbor as ourselves, because we'll see them washed. This is the way God sees us. This is the way He wants us to see ourselves right now. Not as we will be, but now. This is His view of us. You think your view of yourselves or of others is better than His? How foolish. Third, go back to the last part of 9. We've got palms in our hands, a symbol of those who celebrate victory. And finally, look at verse 14 in the middle. These are they, look at here, which came out of the great tribulation. These are they which came out of. Now, literally, the translation would go like this. These are they which came out of the tribulation, the great one. Well, that's obviously a reference to what you find in Matthew 24, when Jesus says, there shall come a tribulation, the like of which this world has never seen before. It's going to be horrible. That's the great persecution by Antichrist of the church. God sees us as if we've already come out. Look at the way it's worded. They have come out of the great tribulation. They're safely through. That great persecution and any and every tribulation that is brought upon us, God sees us as through it. And then He gives to us the assurance. Now, when you're in the middle of it, and when you really are hurting, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally, don't forget this perspective. He doesn't deny the reality of the pain and the hardness of the path we have to walk sometimes. It is hard. It's horribly difficult on us. However, so are we in His care. So are we guided and led, even by Him through those hard ways, that He sees us already as having come through it. Why? How? Because the Lamb is your shepherd. A shepherd is the one who is responsible for taking care. There's a couple Psalter numbers that miss the very first thing that is told us in Psalm 23. And I'm afraid, yes, 55 that we're going to sing is going to miss it. It doesn't say it. Neither does 52, two of my favoriteest tunes. What's the first thing the shepherd does? He takes his sheep and he makes them lie down. He makes them lie down. Don't go to green pastures yet. You just stay with He makes me lie down. Sheep don't ever want to lie down. Sheep have nothing with which to protect themselves from their predators. They don't have horns. They don't have claws. They don't have the kind of teeth that they can stick out and scare and bite with. Only thing a sheep can do to protect itself from a predator is run. So it never wants to lie down. A sheep can't take care of the little irritations of life, the bugs and the mites that get into its wool. A shepherd has to take care of them. The sheep doesn't have a claws with which to scratch or a tail with which to slap or turn around like a cat and a dog to bite. All a sheep can do to take care of those horrible irritations of life is stand on its feet and stomp, shake itself to try to shake them out. But it's got to stand on its feet. Sheep don't want to lie down. Sheep don't want to lie down because they have that place that, well, now don't imagine nice pastures like these or the kind of pastures that we can make now that are smooth. Sheep don't ever want to lie down because they know that there is always the danger, especially if they are pregnant, to roll. And if a sheep gets on its butt and its back, it is paralyzed. Just think of the pictures that you see of how sheep are sheared. They're always in that position. You try to shear a wild sheep, and that sheep will kick and make it horribly impossible to shear. But if you take that sheep and you put it on its back and you lean it back a bit, there it is. And then they can shear the sheep. But a sheep knows that if it lies down and the ground is not even and it rolls, it'll die, because there's no one there to turn it over, except it know that there's a shepherd. Among all the things that a shepherd does is this: he takes away the fears from predators, big ones, little ones, and from its own weaknesses. He takes away the fears of a shepherd, so he makes me lie down. Because I know he'll protect, he'll watch, he'll care. All those predators are bigger. All those irritations I can't take care of. I can't even take care of myself correctly. But the shepherd can. He makes me lie down. That's immediate word, the words that immediately follow, I shall not want. The one who sacrificed himself, the lamb, in obedience to his Father, but love for his sheep, gave himself. He is that kind of a caretaker, that kind of a shepherd for each one of his sheep. Verse 15. Therefore are they before the throne of God. They serve him night and day in his temple, and he that sitteth upon the throne shall dwell among them. The shepherd is right there among the sheep. Jesus said the hireling, he runs. He's got other interests. He doesn't love the sheep, and so he's going to be quickly gone. He who sits on the throne dwells among the flock. The Lord is with me. That's the language. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Why is it that I don't have any want? Because the shepherd is with me. Just take those 3 words. I'm with you. And he wants us to so look at them that we realize, I don't have any wants now. That's the covenant. I'm with you. Nothing more simple. Nothing more beautiful. I'm with you. I will provide food for you. I will feed you with green pastures. I'll move you from one to the next so that you don't destroy it. We can come back to it in the spring or in the fall. And then I'll bring you to another field and another one. But we'll rotate these pastures so that there's always green grass, always food. And I know where the streams are the quietest, where you won't be afraid and you will drink. And those streams are living fountains of water. The water has reviving life in it. It's giving life. He guides them, feeds them. How does he guide and feed us? actually drink of water and eat of grass. You know what he feeds us with and gives us to drink? It's, beloved, you're getting it right now. We are getting it right now. You know how we're getting it? He feeds us and lets us drink of the knowledge of his attitude and relationship and care of us. The better we know him, the better we know what he thinks of us. That's the green grass, and that's the reviving fountains of water. That's why it ends this way. He shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. It says that in Isaiah 25, verse 8. He says it in chapter 21, verse 4. Now, that does not mean you're not going to cry as long as you're on the earth. We won't cry in heaven. The idea is rather this. Revelation 21 is talking about heaven. Then there will be no tears. In Isaiah 25 and here, he's talking about our life here on earth. And he says, no, I'm not promising you will never cry, but I will wipe away every trace of your tears. It won't last. You will not carry traces of tears. Instead, you can be characterized with joy. Even in tears, there's going to be joy that I can give to you. And that's why the result, this is our third point very briefly, the result of the care of the lamb shepherd for the sheep is that the sheep join with crawling on verse 10 and 11 with a loud voice saying, "Thus salvation of our God." So it sitteth upon the throne and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about, and the elders, and the 4 beasts, the 24 elders, and the 4 beasts fell upon their faces, and they worshipped God, and they said, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our God forever and ever. We don't sing the praises of the heroes of this earth. We don't talk about them people who are the champions of the faith here on earth. We say it's all of Him. Everything that you can have. Blessing, speaking well of, glory, the radiations of infinite values, wisdom, the ability to adapt everything to the highest purpose, thanksgiving, acknowledging God's goodness, honor, acknowledging His ethical worth, power, He is able to do everything, and might, He is omnipotent. To Him be that forever and ever. We sing His praise. 2, verse 15, we stand before the throne and we serve Him night and day. Day and night. I'm just a sheep. But I'm a sheep. I'm not a goat. And can I ever express enough thanks? God says, you may verbalize the thanks, but this is how you have to show your thanks. You serve me. Over against whatever you want or what others tell you, you just serve me. Serve me in marriage. Serve me in parenting. Serve me in being children. Serve me in school. Don't serve yourself. Serve me. Day and night. Serve me with what you have. Serve me with what you don't have. Serve me, as we had it this morning, if you have feet, and serve me if you don't have feet. Serve me with sight, or if you don't have sight. In marriage or not in marriage, serve me day and night. And you serve me by serving each other. You know a fourth reason why sheep don't want to lie down? Because they got to stay on their feet to get away from bully sheep. Other people of God can make the lives of God's people miserable. So they don't want to lie down. They got to get away always from bully sheep. But like Jesus, we commit ourselves to him who judgeth righteously. He knows how to take care of bully sheep too. Really well. Perfectly. So I can lie down. I can have peace like a river attending my way. And it may be hard. And it will be. But there's a calm. Because there's the shepherd. The lamb shepherd. That's the one who's watching over you. When you're awake and when you're asleep. He watches over your children, your lamb, the little lambs too. His eye is on every one of them. When you can't, he says, I am. That's the vision he gives just before he describes worse things to come. Don't be scared. Say it. The lamb shepherd is mine. I shall not want. Amen. Our Father, we thank thee again for that assuring word that thou dost give, and that we may be able to know as we look up and behold thy care, thy plan, thy wisdom, and thy love. What have we to fear? Nothing. And that's what thou dost constantly tell us. Fear not, I am with thee. Be not afraid. I will help thee. Truly, we lack nothing. Thanks, Father, for Jesus' sake. Amen.